Antonio Brown has had a drama-filled career, but one thing is for sure. He will go down as one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. Brown has had a surprising career resurgence in Tampa Bay, and finally, he has the one thing he failed to secure in Pittsburgh, a Super Bowl ring. He already has 2 100-yard games this season and is on pace for over 1,100 yards. But everyone thought his career may have been over just a few years ago. When he came to the Buccaneers in 2020, it served as a huge second chance, and it paid off for Tampa Bay, as Brown scored the 3rd touchdown in its Super Bowl victory. But it wasn't the first time he was catching passes from Tom Brady. Brown had a one-game stint in New England, but he was cut after being a gigantic distraction, with sexual assault allegations coming out and intimidating text messages surfacing. But that wasn't the first time he made headlines for drama though. After the Steelers traded him to the Raiders, Brown got frostbite on his feet, fought with the NFL over not being able to wear the helmet that he wanted, missed a ton of practices, got fined $54,000 by Mike Mayock, and responded by confronting him with a blown-up altercation that led to Brown calling him a cracker. Oakland decided to void his guaranteed money on his deal, and Brown was released later that day. It was a true continuation of a crazy cycle that included him getting into an argument with Ben Roethlisberger right before being traded. So Brown was a huge distraction, but he was damn good. In 9 years with the Steelers, he went for over 1,000 yards 7 times. Brown led the league in receiving yards twice, and even had 1,839 yards in 2015. Literally nobody was better than Brown over the stretch, being named a first-team All-Pro for 4 straight years, and even crazier, he's just as talented and relentless to cover as he was a decade ago. But somehow, teams didn't see that potential back at the 2010 NFL Draft. He wasn't just passed over. He wasn't taken until the 6th round. Every team passed on the future best receiver in the league multiple times. But the Broncos did still nail a future 5-time Pro Bowler at number 22. Demaryius Thomas had a very good career, playing a pivotal role on the Broncos Super Bowl 50 squad and recording nearly 10,000 yards in his career. He will forever be known for his 9-year tenure in Denver, but did spend some time with the Texans, Patriots, and Jets. But it doesn't matter where he ended up. He's forever going to be loved by the team that drafted him, just like Dez Bryant. Bryant was beloved in Dallas, recording over 1,000 yards in 3 straight seasons while making the Pro Bowl. He spent an impressive 8 years with the Cowboys before he was released. He latched on with the Saints, but never played in a game, and played for 6 games for the Ravens 2 years later. Bryant had a bad end to his time in the NFL, but will forever be known for his contributions in Dallas as their career receiving touchdowns leader. But Aurelius Ben didn't have the same fortune after the Buccaneers selected him in the 2nd round. Ben had over 800 yards in his first 2 seasons in the league, but he didn't record even 200 for the rest of his career. His value dropped so dramatically that Tampa Bay only fielded a 7th round pick for him after his 3rd season. He ended up tearing his ACL, and the next year was waived. Ben spent 3 years in Jacksonville after, catching 6 passes before his career came to a halt. He failed to truly make it in the league, but Golden Tate certainly did. He is forever going to be known for being involved in one of the most controversial endings in league history, and for rumors that he slept with Russell Wilson's now ex-wife. But Tate was a damn good player too. He was one of Wilson's favorite targets early in his career in Seattle, helping the Seahawks to their first franchise Super Bowl. Tate emerged as a true star in Detroit, going for over 1,000 yards 3 times during his 5 years with the Lions. He became a true threat in Detroit, but declined down his career after he was traded to the Eagles before signing with the Giants in the offseason. Tate was released in March and remains a free agent, but is still on plenty of teams' radars, unlike Damian Williams, who flamed out in 5 years. Williams only had 1,300 yards in his entire career, spending 4 years in Tennessee, struggling to find his footing before he signed a 1-year deal with the Dolphins before being released ahead of the year. Williams latched on to the Rams, but was released ahead of the 2015 season. But the guy taken right after him found a true role in the pros. Brandon LaFell. LaFell was selected by the Panthers at number 78 and went on to play out his 4-year deal in Carolina before inking a 3-year, $9 million deal with the Patriots. He never went for over 1,000 yards in his career, or was really elite in any regard, but his 2014 campaign was magical. He had 953 yards and was a top target for Tom Brady, while the New England Patriots went on to win the Super Bowl after Malcolm Butler's magical pick on the goal line. He struggled the next year though and was released. LaFell played for the Bengals for 2 years and for the Raiders for a season. He hasn't hit the field since, but that hasn't been the case for the next guy off the board, Emmanuel Sanders. Pittsburgh got lucky snagging Antonio Brown late, but first they passed on him for Sanders. He's been damn good and easily one of the best on the list. After 4 years in Pittsburgh, he signed with the Broncos, where he became a fan favorite and #1 target for Peyton Manning en route to a Super Bowl victory. He put together 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons in Denver during his 6-year tenure. Sanders was traded to the 49ers in 2019, landing in New Orleans the next year, and playing for Buffalo in 2021 alongside Josh Allen. Sanders has been stellar this season, but the guy taken 2 picks after him flamed out harder than almost anyone in the class. Jordan Shipley was in and out of the league before you knew it. He was solid as a rookie, recording 600 yards, but that was the peak of his career by a long shot. Shipley tore his ACL and MCL and missed most of the 2011 season and was waived in the offseason. He had brief stints with the Buccaneers and Jaguars before ultimately retiring in 2014. The pros didn't treat him well, but he did join the Texas Game Day crew in Austin. Shipley was late in the 3rd round, but he did go before a quick string of 4 wide receivers, 3 of which had relatively successful careers in the pros, but none as much as Eric Decker. Decker managed to be more known for his dashing good looks and being married to country artist Jesse James, but he was also a pretty solid pro. In 4 years in Denver, he had over 1,000 yards twice and helped the Broncos to a Super Bowl appearance before they fell to Seattle. He was good enough to earn a 5-year, $36.25 million deal from the Jets, where he got off to a good start with about 2,000 yards over his first 2 seasons. But after a down 2016 where he suffered a shoulder injury, he was released. Decker played a season for the Titans and then went to the Patriots for an offseason before retiring. He isn't in the pros anymore, but Andre Roberts is. Roberts has made his living in the pros as an elite returner, and after the end of his rookie deal with Arizona, has never been without a job for a season, although it has been for 7 different teams, including the Chargers, where he currently resides. Roberts is a 2-time All-Pro as a returner and is one of the best in the league that hasn't had many elite returners since Devin Hester was roaming around. The guy selected after Roberts is also a beast in the pros, but not in the United States. In Canada. Armonte Edwards was drafted by the Panthers and spent about a year with the Browns before he found himself out of the NFL, but all hope wasn't lost. Edwards has nearly 3,000 yards in his last couple seasons in the CFL, and even played in the XFL in 2020. He found another chance in a different country, but Taylor Price never got another chance after only recording 80 yards in his career. Price played in 1 game for the Patriots as a rookie before he was waived after 3 games in 2011. He briefly spent time with the Jaguars and Seahawks before finding himself out of the job for good. Price was the last receiver taken on day 2 of the draft and represents what was about to come on day 3. A lot of nobodies that didn't make it. There were 4 wideouts selected in the 4th round. Only 1 went on to record over 1,000 yards in their career. Marty Gilliard only had 78 receiving yards in his career, but found a home in arena football and now serves as a defensive backs coach at a Division III school. Mike Williams, no, not that Mike Williams, or that Mike Williams either. There really are way too many Mike Williams. I mean, that's a basic ass name. I bet that there's probably 4 or 5 Mike Williams watching this video right now.
What? That's not even on the internet anywhere.
But this Mike Williams was drafted by Tampa Bay and had 2,700 yards over his first 3 seasons. But after a nagging injury that hindered his 2013 season, he was traded to the Bills. He was suspended the next season and latched on to Kansas City for the 2016 offseason and hasn't played since. But he was still much more successful than Marcus Easley, who spent 7 years in Buffalo, primarily as a special teams guy before being released, marking the end of his pro career. Another return specialist, Jacoby Ford, was good enough to make the offseason roster on a handful of NFL and CFL teams, but couldn't make the final roster outside of his rookie deal in Oakland, where he recorded 848 yards in 4 years. The 5th round was just as much of a crapshoot. David Reed was a solid returner in the pros, but he's more known for fumbling twice in a Week 10 game in 2011 after he managed to fumble after running into one of his own teammates. I bet Mark Sanchez was punching the air knowing that he wasn't the first person to embarrassingly fumble on live television. Reed did luck out and won a Super Bowl with the Ravens before he was traded and spent time with the Colts and 49ers before the end of his career. He didn't pan out in the pros, but his younger brother Jordan Reed had some good times with Washington. On the other side of the NFC East, the Eagles took Riley Cooper, who is likely more famous for a racial slur than his play on the field. Cooper played in Philadelphia for 6 years, racking up 2,400 yards before retiring in 2017. He was able to stick around in the NFL for a while, but that wasn't the case for Kerry Meyer, who flamed out in 3 years. Meyer spent almost all of his career on injured reserve and was waived in 2012. The 6th round is a place of just closing your eyes and throwing darts and names. Nobody expects them to be much, and that was the case for the first 2 off the board in the round. The Browns took Carlton Mitchell, who bounced around the NFL and CFL, but hasn't been on an active roster since 2014. He had just 31 receiving yards in his NFL career. Dez Bryant wasn't the only Dez in the draft after the Bengals took Dez Briscoe. Briscoe never actually played a down for the Bengals, but did record over 500 yards over a 4-year period with the Buccaneers and Washington. 4 picks after the Bengals whiffed on Dez, the Steelers came back up on the clock before selecting Antonio Brown. Simply, there's nobody on this list that I would take over Antonio Brown. He's a surefire Hall of Famer. There were some studs in the draft like Demaryius Thomas, Dez Bryant, Golden Tate, and Emmanuel Sanders, but none of them had half the career of Brown. Most of the guys that get drafted on day 3 don't amount to much, but sometimes a few sneak through the cracks and become the greatest players in league history. Hey, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a daily upload. Go follow us on TikTok, where we're going to be posting content all season long, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter to interact with us and talk all things sports. Again, guys, thank you for sticking to the end of the video, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace. Something about the girl.